Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing around with collage images and adding some texture to our images. So I'm starting off in my ledger journal from Dilutions and just trimming up the collage paper from Natalie May Scrapbooking. So when I'm using collage papers, I like to get rid of as much white as possible. Just a personal preference for me, I just find it a lot easier to work with. Because this is such a brightly coloured piece that I wanted to keep, particularly the face, I tend to turn my collage paper over and just paint white gesso in the background. So particularly if I was already putting this onto a background, that's a really great way to make sure that your face itself, or the bits that you don't want to lose in your collage paper, aren't going to get lost. I'm then going in with some different acrylic paints and scraping them on using my palette knife just to mix them up. And you can see how I'm using inspiration from the colours in the background of the collage paper itself. So it's sort of got cool colours on one side and warm colours on the other, which is what I'm sort of continuing with. Because the paint dries really, really quickly, because it's going on so thin, you can sort of scrub the paint around and make sure that it sort of all stays in place. Once I've finished, I'm then going in with my gel medium. This is where I broke my silicone, spatula, and then decided to bin it because it was just annoying me. So I'm gluing down my piece with gel medium, both some under the bottom and over the top. So you can sort of see I've got this rough area of colour that kind of matches what's happening on the collage sheet. Then I'm going in with my short bristle brush, which is quite firm, and adding in some paint strokes. So I've been really enjoying using this technique with these papers because it just adds a little bit of detail, a little bit of interest to the page. I'm also painting over the collage image itself, which I find is the best way to blend it all together. If I just painted on the bits on the journal page itself, that would be fine, but it wouldn't necessarily tie it together. I'd still have a very separate image, I suppose. So you can sort of see me being quite bold with my strokes and blending them together. I'm also adding in a little bit of sort of the yellows onto one side, or onto the warm side, and then onto the cool side as well, same with the blues. And that sort of helps to balance the image a little bit. So I probably got a little bit carried away with my paint strokes. I really liked the background I had originally, and then I sort of lost it a little bit. But it helped sort of inspire me in what I was going to do next. I also popped a little bit of skin coloured paint just to actually ground my image so I didn't have this floating face. So again, she looks very mummified at the moment, but I knew it was just layers. So sometimes you just need to take these risks and do stuff and see what you come up with. While I was waiting for everything sort of to dry, I then went in with my Stabilo oil pencil and added in a little bit of darkness with my black pencils and a little bit of blue as well, particularly on the left hand side because that's sort of the cooler side of the page. Then just wetting it out and blending the colours together somewhat. So because that's a watercolour paint sitting over the top of acrylics, if you don't like it, you can sort of wipe it away with a wet wipe. It's not permanent, so again, if you're a little bit heavy-handed, you can remove some of the stuff that you want to. I'm going in and adding a little bit of orange to the top, which has helped balance that out a little bit, and then a little bit of the yellow over the top again. Just using my sponge to blend it together. So using lots of different not materials, objects to add paint, to add texture is a really great way to play around with stuff like this. So I started off with a palette knife. I've used a stiff bristle brush. I'm going in the paint, not a paint thing, sponge. I've used my fingers. So just play, just have fun. There's no right or wrong to what you're doing. I decided I really wanted to make the eyelashes stand out. So I've gone over where I had my pencil with my white and black paint pen. The white on the lips in particular and on the eyes helps it really pop out from the background. So once I sort of balanced it up, put in all my highlights where I wanted them to, then I was busy sort of going, oh, what am I going to do next? So I decided I was going to add a little bit of stamping. And again, I've added it in white. Now the reason I chose white was I just wanted to balance it up a little bit. There was lots and lots of colour, not very much white or black contrast. I then went in with my Dylusions inks with a stamp as well, just to again put a little bit of interest in the background. And just like I did with the paint, I'm sort of swapping over a little bit. So I'm doing most of the cool colours on the cool side, but I've put some on the warm side and vice versa. And it just gives those little pops of colour and a little bit of texture as well. I'm also going in with a little bit of black, because just like the white, it's good to have that contrast of colour on your page. So you can sort of see all these layers building up together to create the image. Once I finished there, then I decided I was going to put my quote on the top. So I love this one, dream until it's reality. Then I'm going in and thickening up the letters, just so it'll pop out from the background. The reason I chose to write my quote there was because she doesn't really have a forehead and it's kind of all mixed in together. It sort of helped correct that mistake, so to speak. There was a space there. You could still see that her forehead was there, but it didn't need to be defined because the quote was sitting on top of it, if that makes sense. The other place I obviously would have put it was over her neck, because her neck's still a little bit stark, so that would have been a good way to hide that. So quotes are a really great way of hiding the bits that you're not particularly happy with on your page. And quite often, if you look at my journal pages, you'll notice that my quotes tend to hide the bits that I'm not necessarily the happiest with on my page. It's the bits that I'm not precious about, and that I'm happy to go over or hide, or however you choose to think about it. I have absolutely no idea why I started with the right hand side of my page and moved to the left. That's a really good way to smudge your paint pen. Really, really good way of doing it. Then I decided I wanted to put a little bit of splatter on the page. So I got my white acrylic paint out, or ink out, and splattered over the page, which I really liked. I think I ended up with doing some gold as well, if memory serves me. No, I got out my gold texture paste instead. And this was really, sounds awful to say it, but it's sort of inspired. I wasn't 100% certain about this page until I did this, and then I really, really loved it. Now, the important thing about using texture paste is, if you're using on your stencils, really, really important that you clean your stencils away. But just having that gold over all those layers and the texture of it, sort of that diamond pattern over the top, really helped pull this whole page together and helped finish it off. So the gold texture paste is the Art by Mylene Gold. It's absolutely fantastic. But play around with using textures, whether it's the stamps, whether it's the layers of paint, whether it's how you've put texture paste on the page. Texture on your journal pages makes all the difference in the world. Until next time, bye for now.